Welcome, my dearest friends, to Pillow Tales. I am your steady companion for the evening, Clara Beaumont, and I invite you now to settle in, deeply in. Find the very softest contour of your pillow and allow your worries, your troubles, and your hasty thoughts to dissipate into the quiet, unchanging elegance of a simpler time. Tonight, we embark on a profound journey that proves the great detective, Monsieur Hercule Poirot, treats the smallest infraction with the same meticulous gravity, indeed, perhaps even greater gravity, than the grandest, loudest crime. We are settled now at a charming, if slightly dusty, tea parlor in 1950s London, investigating a case of profound, almost humorous triviality, yet immense human drama. The Unexciting Affair of the Stolen Macaroon. Chapter 1. The Symmetry of the Patisserie Tray. We begin, my dearest listeners, by immersing ourselves completely, fully, in the hushed, creamy, and deeply structured atmosphere of Madame Dubois' patisserie, located upon a quiet London side street where the rougher, less civilized sounds of the 1950s fade into a gentle, pleasing, almost melodic hum. The air here holds a profound stillness, interrupted only by the faintest metallic whisper of the small ceiling fan. Allow the scent to wash over you, a dominant, enveloping perfume of deep, comforting depth. A generous cloud of warm vanilla and fresh almond essence, slightly tempered by the clean, cool scent of starched, folded linen napkins. This is the signature fragrance of true French baking, and it hangs in the air with a certain reverence, a silent testimony to order. The light is soft, diffused, and slow, filtering through intricate lace-trimmed curtains, which themselves hold a fascinating geometry of intersecting lines and negative space. The sunlight catches the gentle dust motes, and we follow their slow, almost imperceptible drift as they hang suspended in the cool, constant air, each motet a miniature world, perfectly following the laws of air currents, a study in graceful, silent motion. All attention, and indeed Monsieur Poirot's profound and searching gaze, is drawn inexorably to the central glass display case, which stands as a sanctuary, a glass-enclosed shrine to sweet culinary perfection. Monsieur Poirot approaches with slow, measured steps, taking a full 2 minutes simply to admire the subtle, precise geometry of the tiered patisserie trays within. He dwells on the sight of the final, most coveted row of pistachio macaroons. Each one, he notes, is a testament to perfect symmetry. The shells are uniformly domed. The pale green hue is exact and consistent, and the thick, creamy filling is centered with a deliberate precision that speaks volumes about Madame Dubois' almost pathological dedication to her craft. He calculates the precise angle of light refraction off the glass, ensuring no visual deception distorts the uniform spacing between each perfect suite. The conflict, he recognizes, is the desire for this final, perfect macaroon, a highly coveted item known throughout the neighborhood for its unique imported almond flour. This small dessert, Monsieur Poirot muses internally, is a microcosm of human desire, a small, fragile monument to the longing for sweet, unattainable perfection. We meet our petty cast, Madame Dubois, the owner, whose professional pride is fragile, Mr. Silas Finch, the ornithologist, whose rigid daily schedule demands that final macaroon as his reward, Miss Eliza Perkins, the sharp-eyed society columnist who seeks any flaw, and Mrs. Alice Gable, the envious friend who subtly competes. Poirot settles into his corner table, preparing to defend the gentle geometry of the patisserie against the smallest, most significant intrusion of chaos. Chapter 2. The vacuum of the display case. The afternoon deepens, and the patisserie enters its quietest period, a time of profound, almost religious silence. The display case, that central sanctuary of the sweets, is secured by a subtle latch only Madame Dubois can reach from behind the counter, positioned precisely 3 full feet from the customer edge, making a direct, physical theft seem utterly impossible. The glass itself, Poirot notes, is thick, cool, and without fault. The focus tightens inexorably on the critical moment. At exactly 3:15 p.m., the final perfect macaroon sits alone, an island of green perfection. Madame Dubois, with a quick, nervous declaration about the necessity of fetching fresh cream, steps through a curtained doorway into the small, dark kitchen behind the counter. Poirot notes the precise length of her absence, which must be exactly 90 seconds. The remaining customers are still, their attention diverted by internal thoughts or the slow stir of their tea. We follow, in extreme slow motion, the rhythmic, muffled sound of Madame Dubois' footsteps in the back kitchen. Tap, tap, pause, tap. The silence of the parlor in her absence is almost deafening. When Madame Dubois returns precisely at 16:30 p.m., the heavy glass latch is still perfectly secured, resting exactly as it should. Yet, the macaroon is gone. The space where it sat is now an empty, shocking circle on the porcelain tray, a perfect vacuum of lost sweetness, the undeniable physical evidence of the impossible crime. The profound triviality of the loss is precisely what elevates it to Monsieur Poirot's attention. He notes the single, faint, shimmering reflection of the counter lamp upon the glass, where the macaroon's shell should have been. The 5 suspects, including the nervous Arthur, the teenage waiter, are all observed in minute detail during this tiny window, their every subtle movement and shift of gaze recorded in the detective's precise mind. Chapter 3. The mute evidence of the crumb. The silence of the parlor is now tragically broken by Madame Dubois' dramatic, silent collapse of professional dignity. Monsieur Poirot, entirely intrigued by the sheer unnecessity and audacity of the crime, approaches the counter with deliberate, painstaking slowness. He does not touch the display case, that would be vulgar, but observes it with his famous magnifying gaze, his eyes moving inch by slow inch. The macaroon is not merely stolen, it has vanished without a trace of entry. He deduces the act was one of extreme finesse. The only physical evidence is microscopic, lending itself to a long, profound sensory dilation. Poirot leans closer, his eyes fixed upon the exact corner where the macaroon had rested. He finds a single, minute speck of pale green pistachio crumb clinging tenaciously to the corner edge of the inner glass shelf. He spends a long moment contemplating this crumb, its color, a perfect farrow and ball setting plaster green, its rough, slightly chewy texture, and its size. It is evidence of a hurried yet non-destructive removal. Monsieur Poirot enters a deep internal debate on the philosophy of pastry as evidence, musing on the unique molecular structure of a perfectly baked meringue shell versus a dense, moist cake base, and how that structure dictates the nature of its fragmentation. The crime, he concludes, was one of pure, calculated spite or obsessive acquisition, stolen for the pleasure of the theft itself. The small, insignificant crumb now holds the weight of the entire universe of the crime. Mr. Finch is observed, rigid with indignation, checking his pocket watch obsessively, the tiny mechanism ticking loudly in the quiet space, while Miss Perkins is furiously writing, captivated only by the social drama of the petty infraction. Chapter 4. The alibis of the afternoon. T. Poirot's investigation now turns to the simple human truths revealed by the suspect's slow, careful movements during the short 90-second window. The process of eliciting alibis is drawn out and conversational, focusing less on the facts and more on the rhythm and pattern of their denials. Monsieur Poirot begins with a lengthy, polite conversational tangent about the unusually high humidity and its effect on the delicate tension of the teacup handles. Mr. Finch claims he was meticulously measuring the exact number of granulated sugar crystals he put into his tea, using his pocket watch to time the complete dissolution. He insists he was entirely focused on the internal symmetry of his cup, his eyes fixed down. Miss Perkins states she was applying a touch of lipstick while covertly observing a flaw in the ceiling plaster, her attention focused upwards and away from the display case, a lie calculated to mask surveillance. Mrs. Gable claims she was admiring the faint reflection of the display case in her own compact mirror, but only saw the hazy outline of her face. Arthur the waiter admits he was standing by the far wall, painstakingly cleaning an invisible spot from a table, his back momentarily turned to the counter. Poirot spends a long segment analyzing the geometry of their teacups and the precise arc of each suspect's hands, noting that only Mr. Finch's hands came closest to the counter for a single fleeting fraction of a second, when he briefly and silently signaled Arthur for a fresh linen napkin, an action he now meticulously denies performing. The subtle variations in their descriptions of the teacups and the weather become, to Poirot, more damning than any direct lie. Chapter 5. The Speckle of Pistachio Dust. The investigation is further complicated by subtle, confusing red herrings rooted in sensory detail and small personal habits. The first distraction is discovered on the cuff of Mr. Finch's tweed jacket, a faint speckle of blue food colouring, originating not from the pistachio sweet, but from a less expensive blue raspberry macaroon. Poirot suggests this means Finch tried to snag a different macaroon first and failed. Finch denies touching any sweets, his denial slow and repetitive. Next, Mrs. Gable, the envious friend, vehemently claimed she takes her tea without sugar, yet Poirot notices a faint white dusting of fine, granulated sugar on the edge of her seat cushion, introducing a profound discrepancy. Did she use sugar or handle a sugary object recently? This contradictory evidence slows the investigation dramatically, as Poirot must meticulously discount each minor, irrelevant falsehood about sweetening agents. Arthur, the nervous waiter, finally breaks down and confesses that he did pilfer a small, day-old biscotti from the staff counter during the 90-second window. A small, personal theft that explains his nervousness, but definitively proves he did not take the valuable macaroon. Poirot enters a deep internal monologue, reflecting on the geometric disorder caused by sugar use and the moral failing it suggests. He concludes that the successful theft requires an object that allows for both distance from the case and precision in retrieval. An item that is an extension of the hand, but not immediately obvious as a tool, and he focuses intently on the unique metallic properties of a forgotten spectacle frame on Mr. Finch's table. Chapter 6. Complications and twists. The underlying human motivations, rooted not in financial gain, but in petty social rivalry, are finally revealed, stretching the complexity of the trivial crime. The greatest complication involves Miss Eliza Perkins, the critic. Her motive is pure professional spite. She harbors a bitter, ongoing feud with Madame Dubois because her last society column hinted at a decline in the quality of the pistachio filling, a profound aesthetic betrayal. The theft of the final perfect macaroon was intended to cause a public scandal, shattering Madame Dubois' reputation and confirming her critical assessment. Miss Perkins then confesses that her alibi was indeed a deliberate lie. She was not studying the ceiling, but using her compact mirror to observe Mr. Finch, trying to deduce his own obsession with symmetry for a separate, private article. Her reflection-based alibi was a complex decoy. Poirot then spends a prolonged 15-minute monologue focusing on the mechanical possibility of the crime. The macaroon was too delicate, the gap too small, and the distance too great for a simple hand. The glass display was compromised only by the heavy, ornamental brass handle on the front. He analyzes the curvature of the brass and its precise relationship to the counter's polished wood grain, realizing the handle provides a crucial, overlooked fulcrum for a delicate, precise operation. He slowly traces the arc of possible movement with his cane, demonstrating the exact geometry required to lift an object from inside the case without disturbing the secure latch. Chapter 7. The Revelation of the Hidden Handle. 8,000 or to 9,000 words. The moment of revelation is delivered with profound slowness, bringing the focus back to the simple logic of the small objects. Poirot identifies the culprit as Mr. Silas Finch, the ornithologist. His motive was purely selfish. He was tired of the emotional stress caused by the rigid routine and the constant competition for the final macaroon. The crime was an act of preemptive self-soothing. Poirot explains the ingenious yet hilariously mundane method. The theft was executed not with a hand, but with his long, thin, gold-plated pocket watch chain. As he was ostensibly timing the sugar dissolution, an act that brought his hand near the counter's edge, he dropped the fine, delicate chain over the ornamental brass handle of the display case. He used the pocket watch chain's long hook to delicately snag the macaroon, lifting it out through the tiny, barely noticeable gap between the fixed glass and the counter. Poirot spends a long meditative segment comparing the chain to a spider's silk, strong yet nearly invisible. The speckle of blue food colouring was the mark left when he first attempted the theft with the blue macaroon and failed, and the green crumb was from his successful final attempt. The crime was one of extraordinary precision and patience, skills he had perfected through years of watching silent stationary birds, proving the observer often becomes the culprit. Chapter 8. The Justice of the Missing Sweetness, 9,000 to 10,000 words. The confrontation is gentle, focusing on the ethical violation of routine and the lack of respect for the pastry's perfection. Poirot confronts Mr. Finch, who quickly collapses, admitting his crime was driven by a deep passion for rigid routine and the stress of unmet expectation, hating the anxiety of the morning race. Poirot initiates a long internal debate on the moral geometry of Finch's obsession. Mr. Finch then produces the final, coveted macaroon from his coat pocket. It is slightly flattened and cracked, but uneaten, having been held secure in a small, custom-made metal tin meant for collecting rare insect samples. Madame Dubois, upon seeing her macaroon returned, damaged and imperfect, is simultaneously furious at the deception and relieved that her display case was not technically breached. Monsieur Poirot, with quiet authority, suggests a punishment befitting the trivial crime, delivered with extreme slowness. Mr. Finch must purchase and eat 3 macaroons, including the damaged one he stole, as compensation for the professional chaos he caused. The crime is resolved with a quiet, firm handshake and a protracted, severe lecture on the ethics of patisserie rivalry and the importance of respecting the work of others, restoring the honor of the patisserie, and the delicate balance of the suspects' lives. Chapter 9. The quietude of the clean china. With the truth established and the compensation settled, the narrative turns entirely to the pure, soothing satisfaction of the tea parlor closing and settling into profound, enduring peace. The focus shifts to the slow, rhythmic sounds of domestic completion. We hear the soft scraping of chairs being stacked, the gentle, rhythmic rinsing of the china in warm, precisely temperate, soapy water, followed by the specific, gentle clack as they are placed on the drying rack. We detail the hushed sound of the floor being swept, collecting every last stray sugar crystal and crumb. The sweet scent of vanilla and almond now fades, replaced by the clean, comforting warmth of soap and polish. The main door is locked and the heavy back bolt is secured, creating a profound, quiet seal. The small rhythmic clinking of the cash register being tallied provides a final, calming sound of order being restored to the books. Poirot, having savoured his final perfect cup, watches the waiter dust the display case glass back to sparkling clarity. The small empty shelf is now just a clean surface, ready for the morning's new array, embodying the deep, structural peace and restorative order of the world being put back into its correct, gentle place. Chapter 10. The Philosophy of the Petit Delict. The final chapter is the gentle, profound, and lengthy descent into rest. Poirot's final thoughts are shared in a soft, extended monologue about the true meaning of the petit delict, the small crime. He muses that the greatest lessons are learned from the smallest infractions, because they expose the nakedness of human desire and the profound chaos caused by the smallest deviation from routine. True peace comes from respecting the perfection of simple things, like a well-made macaroon, and understanding that all obsession, even the love of order, must be tempered by patience and understanding of human weakness. The narrator then takes over for the final, soft wind down, describing the shop entering its final absolute stillness, a deep and infinite quietude. The only sound is the slow, steady, rhythmic ticking of the grandfather clock, a gentle metronome for sleep. The sense of cozy internal warmth and safety is emphasized, stretching into the profound distance of the quiet night. My friends, the affair of the stolen macaroon is closed. The display case is secured, and the perfect balance of the sweet world is restored. You are safe now, surrounded by the quietude of a simple world set right. Let the gentle, slow, steady ticking of the clock guide you deep into slumber, deeper and deeper. Tell me in comments where you're listening from. Good night.